This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional medical advice or be a substitute for therapy. Please contact a mental health professional as needed. If you are in need of urgent or emergency health care, please contact your medical and or mental health provider, call 911, or go to your nearest emergency room. The information presented in this podcast does not reflect the opinions of those with whom Dr. Ellick might be affiliated as an employee, consultant, or colleague, past or present. Hello, and welcome to another episode of From Mayhem to Mindset with Dr. Laura. I am your host, Dr. Laura Ellick. I am so excited that we finally got this together. This has been, I think it's been like a year in the making. I know. I was sick, you were sick, kids were sick. Yep. Like we have just been trying to get this together. So welcome to the show, Sarah Frias. I have to tell everybody about Sarah because she is like, what do you call it if you're a female and you're a jack of all trades?
I don't know.
A Jacqueline? Jacqueline?
Jacqueline.
I guess. I don't know. So Sarah is originally from Cape Cod, which I did not know.
Oh.
Sarah has found her purpose in South Florida. She began her journey at Next Level Recovery Associates 5 years ago as a medical transport provider. I didn't know that either. Supporting clients at the very start of their recovery paths. Over time, her dedication, leadership, and heart for this work elevated her into her current role as managing partner. I did know that because you're phenomenal. With more than 16 years of nursing experience and 8 years in long-term recovery, Sarah believes deeply in individualized care. She knows recovery requires addressing core issues while also discovering who we are beyond our struggles. Above all, she believes no one is defined by a diagnosis. Sarah balances leading a growing company with being a devoted mom to Bryce and Serena and their Frenchie Doula. Ugh.
It's okay. Everybody says it that way.
Yeah, it's like the Spanish, It's got a flavor to it. She stays grounded through music, the beach, gym therapy, and creative expression, continuing to expand her clinical skills as she works towards licensure to further support the individuals and families she serves. Welcome.
Yay.
It's so nice to have you here.
I know. I'm so excited.
So I'm taken by number one, like this creative expression part. Like, tell me about that.
Oh, I feel like always from a young age, my dad, I'll start with my dad is a really amazing artist. He's one of those people that can draw. He's drew both of my kids when they were newborns. So he's always had that artistic side. My mom, definitely not. And she always says I got my creative expression through my dad. So I've always just been I feel like a lot of times I'm an internal person. I talk like this a lot of the time, even if I'm sad, happy, whatever the case is. The art therapy and the creative expression helps me show who I really am and like how I'm feeling. A lot of times while I was using or going through different struggles, poems were probably my biggest thing that I did. And then drawing, of course. So very abstract. I always really did amazing in rehab with art therapy. I would definitely get an A in that. And I could have done that forever. I just feel like it's really a good platform to express yourself. Especially we're so used to nowadays, presenting in one way. Like everything's great. I have this beautiful family. I'm well. I'm very balanced. Self-care is great. And it's not. So it is an outlet for me. And I share it a lot with my clients too. Some of my poetry has been a little on the darker side, but bringing it to light. So where I was at in my darkness, and now looking at what it is now. So I like to share that. Eventually, someday I'll do a poetry book, but
oh my gosh,
I don't know if anybody would read it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's this one I'll never forget. It's this one piece of a poem, and it was talking about addiction, and it said, it's like you're playing poker, and I don't obviously have it exact word for word, but I won $800, but behind that I've lost $10,000, so it's like, yay, look at me, I won $800, but in that I've spent all this money, or like, fishing and pulling up a fish, but like, it's not my rod, and I'm kind of just going in the groove of with other people. And so it really helps me explain my addiction and my struggles.
I think you're the first person who I've spoken to who has talked about the role of art in recovery. So this is really special, and this is really important because I've had a couple of my own patients who have used art as part of their recovery, or sometimes when people have gotten stuck in therapy, especially in describing emotions, they don't know how to name the emotions. Sometimes I will just ask them to take out a crayon and pick a color and just draw what color they think the emotion is.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, just because you have two young kids, do you use art with them to help them with emotions or to help them self-regulate, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, Bryce is very much me artistic. Like, he drew a family picture the other day and it was so cute, but it was so interesting because I was the biggest person, right? Because I'm kind of the one, like my husband always says, I keep the house together. Then he drew, Johnny, my husband, and Serena was smaller than him, of course. And then our dog, who was also big because she is very much a part of.
Isn't that cool how they do that?
And he's just like a really great artist, because I think building rapport with people, as someone who is a very non-trusting person, a lot. Like, I wish I was someone that just immediately trusted people. It takes a very, very long time to trust people. It allows me to show my authentic self and kind of build rapport quicker. So like, if I was in therapy, right, and I'm like, I don't know this therapist, I could, draw how I really feel on the inside, and that way I just show it to you. I don't necessarily have to say anything. Or I can just read off the paper my poem of how I feel. And it allows me then to get more comfortable with whoever I'm working with or talking with, and build that rapport quicker. Because I think a lot of times, it doesn't even have to be in recovery from, substances or anything like that. Like, there have always been something in life where there's trust has been broken. Yeah. So I am someone that's very much that person. So for me, I think, and that's why my clients like working with me, because I'm very non-judgmental. I've been through it all, and I figure out a way, which sometimes they haven't necessarily done. Like, I'll have people say, I'm not an artist. There's no like definition of what an artist is, like, it doesn't have to be, you can draw, offhand a beautiful picture of someone, mine don't make any sense, but it's mine. So I always try to incorporate that into anything, especially with females. Females are much more willing to do kind of the art therapy aspect.
Absolutely.
I'd love more guys to do it. And I think that for me, it's kind of just being like verbal about it and kind of sharing my experience with it.
So you're originally from Cape Cod, so you're a northerner, which is lovely.
Yes.
I love the northerners. So you came down here. Did you come down here to get clean, or you were clean already?
No, I was not clean. I kind of, for a long time, I was in the shuffle. I was part of that movement of shuffling around to treatment centers. I kind of moved around. I didn't really have a home, I would describe. Like, obviously my parents are amazing, and, my home is with them as well, but I didn't feel like I had my own individual home. So I traveled to different Portland, Maine, Baltimore, Maryland, New Jersey, Florida a couple times, and ended up building my identity and myself here. So when I came back down here, I was at my lowest for sure. I had relapsed. I had to go to the hospital. They told me, I don't know if I ever told you this.
You did not.
Okay. So I was at a very, I went to nursing school, and I started off with, painkillers and stuff like that. And my last moment I always share, because I really don't like to go much into like a lot of, glorifying, because it's not glorifying by any means. I ended up on the streets of Boynton in Seacrest with no shoes on. Wow. Hospital scrubs, and I had my legs wrapped because I was in the hospital, and they told me I might have to get my legs cut off. So they had to obviously do like a bone scan to see if there was an infection, because then I would have had to. Luckily, I didn't have the infection in my bones. So I have scars still to this day that I've gotten a lot more comfortable with, but it took a long time. I had to wrap my legs for kind of like what you see now with all those people on the streets with kind of that like flesh eating.
From Trank.
From Trank, yeah. So yeah, it's just from that moment on, I've kind of just, and in that moment, I was still like doing my poetry and that type of stuff. So,
so that was your grounding through everything. That was your constant.
Yeah, because I mean, listen, I love the gym and working out. It gets my endorphins going, and definitely a therapy for me. I don't want to talk to people at the gym, just listen to my music and focus on that. But in moments where I am physically unable, like whether it's depression or when I was using, I can't work out. Like I just physically, would I love to push myself? Yeah, but it's just not going to happen. So I'm always able to just kind of roll over in a depression moment and pull up my phone and jot down some notes and, send them to, a lot of times I would just send them to certain people, like my best friend. And that kind of helps to let people know where I'm at.
So you mentioned also music is one of your loves. So have you ever turned your poetry into music?
No, I have a terrible. I was singing. My daughter this morning wanted "Frozen On," the "Let It Go" song. I didn't want to listen to it, and then I'd have to like put it on my phone. So I said to her, "I said, do you want me to sing it to you?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Let it go." And she was like, "Okay, no." I definitely don't have. I gave up a lot in my life. So like I tried to take guitar lessons. I could play Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then I quit. I played other instruments. But no, I never did that. I love music for sure. It is definitely like when I meet someone that does not like music, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah. How do you not like?
How do you not?
Yeah. What's not to like? I don't understand it.
I've never like when people are like, "Oh, I don't listen to music." I'm like, "How do you not listen to music?" Like it's just for me constant. I've introduced my son to it, so I play him, like Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift, and he's always like, "Okay, what's this song's name?" So I'm getting them into that idea of like using music and art and stuff like that as expression, because nowadays it's like really hard with everything that goes on with social media and just being a kid. It's not really a kid anymore. So I'm trying to ensure that they have certain coping skills without knowing that they're coping skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we can do it together, like art. We do a lot of like painting with like, those wooden like Santa. We'll paint Santa. It's not correct. There's 800 colors that turn into brown, but they're doing it.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, those are definitely two. I'm definitely an outside the box person. And I think that's what works for me. When I came in to this field, because I was new, I worked with geriatric clients pretty much my whole.
Well, so that's what you did for nursing.
Yeah. I worked for my geriatric patients. So that's why people always say I have an old soul. So I get along really well with older men and women because that's all I spent my time with. I worked for hospice, so that brought along my compassion. So there's definitely positives that came from nursing for sure. But yeah, so the negative I will say of nursing is that it cut me off emotionally, which when I went to detoxes, I'd have doctors and nurses that I worked with at the same building in detox with me. I'll be like, "Oh, hey, Jen," and because you have to go, I remember specifically, I'd go into one room and it would be someone discharging, right? Like they had surgery, they're good to go. Very exciting. And then the next room, I'd have to switch my emotion because someone was passing away. And then go into another room where something else was happening. So it was like immediately I had to be a different person for each. And I don't think it really is talked about as much in the medical field about like how much it kind of messes with your like emotion and your ability to identify your own emotions, because it's really based upon what is situational.
And they always tell you, don't let your emotions get the best of you, because then you can't make the best clinical decision either.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But we're humans.
Exactly.
Do you think part of your addiction was to kind of numb out that part of the job?
Yeah, I mean, it's when I got into nursing school was when I started my addiction, which is like I went through nursing school with my addiction. I mean, I think there was a lot of parts. I think that I didn't feel good enough. I didn't have as much money as some of the other people, where I was from. I just never felt like good enough. And then I just think there was always some like depression for sure within me. I was like a cutter when I was younger before I found drugs. But then, yeah, I mean, absolutely. It was a lot easier for me to take, some Percocet and go to work and be the best nurse I could be,
Mm-hmm.
In my head. That's what my disease told me was that I was only a good nurse when I used painkillers.
Talk about that mindset.
Yeah. Oh,
Right,
yeah.
which is so the opposite of I'm sure what you would
Not
tell
true
people
whatsoever.
today.
No,
Right? Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
I was a better friend. I was funnier. I remember a specific time that I had done opiates the night before, and then the next day I was trying not to do them. And one of my old girlfriends said, "You were much more fun last night." And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to ride with this." You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like now I have to do it all the time because I'm way more fun on this. And it's
Hmm.
funny how your mind is by far your worst enemy.
Or your best friend.
Or your best friend. Yeah.
Right.
Now it's kind of a balance, I feel like sometimes. Definitely motivates me and pushes me now. And I'm able to, working with a therapist, learn how to kind of change my thought process. Like I'm like, that doesn't seem like a good thought. I'm gonna try to like switch it around, and what other thoughts could I think besides what I'm thinking right now? And I think that's been uh, the biggest significant thing for me with my thinking for sure
Hmm.
is learning that skill.
One of the things I find so challenging about that, and I've been doing this work for years before I even knew it was mindset, right?
Yeah.
So I've been talking about this, working on myself, because I always do everything on myself first. And it's so amazing to me still, after having been in this field for so long, how quickly one situation can trigger me to go back to a negative thinking pattern from years and years and years ago,
Yeah.
and how it's like that dry riverbed in your brain where it just wants to go that way.
Yeah.
Right. And how, but catching it and being able to do something different
Exactly.
is the key. So how are you at being able to recognize, ooh, no, that's can't go there?
It depends on, I mean, to be transparent lately, which we have hired someone, I was in for sure burnout mode. So when I'm healthy with myself, it's a lot easier to identify that and kind of switch the flip and then think of something else that is more accurate and more positive. But when I'm in burnout mode, it just seems like it's just like one thing after another. And I'm kind of just stuck in it, for sure. And it then kind of seeps into like every aspect,
Mhm.
like, personal life and that. So I think for me, it really depends on where I'm at within myself, because if I'm really strong within my self-care and doing things for myself and, working with a therapist and, taking medication and all that, it's a lot easier. When I'm not using those tools as much and I'm putting, X, Y, and Z in front of that. I mean, the thoughts are just, they're there, and I'm just riding with them, until I'm like noticing it. So it takes a little bit longer for sure. And I get stuck in it a little bit.
Mhm.
But sometimes it just gets a little overwhelming.
Yeah. But you're bringing out, one of the things I talk about with like the three C's for recovery, and we could apply it really to almost any particular illness that you're recovering from. And you just highlighted it. It's the consistency,
Mm-hmm,
right? It's lack of complacency.
mm-hmm.
You can't be complacent, and it's connection.
Yeah,
And if you keep those three in the front of your mind, you're going to do so much better
absolutely.
than if you allow yourself to be complacent, to slide off your medication,
Yeah.
to fall back into those old patterns. But let's talk about burnout, because I don't think it's given enough respect in this field
No,
at all.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is a topic I talk about a lot. I feel like we're always wanting to talk about things that are really positive, right? Like, oh, like working in this field, like helping so many people. But what are kind of some of the I don't even want to say consequences, but kind of,
There are costs.
yeah, costs, I guess,
There
of
are
that.
personal costs to it. I'm not going to lie.
Especially kind of like where you're at with your practice and also with ours is it's not just like 1 hour session and then we're done, right? Like it is, there really has to be set boundaries. And it can be hard when you're in a concierge uh, business, right? Because then it's like, where's the balance with it? And I can see sometimes with the balance.
I'm terrible at that, by the way.
Oh, me too. I mean, I know we text each other at 6 a.m. Yeah. No, I've really tried to put in some boundaries with it. But yeah, I mean, the burnout for sure is real. Amanda went away to the Philippines and then Africa. And I was, we work hand in hand. We're two peas in a pod because they're so different. But when it was just me,
It was a lot.
And crisis. It wasn't just like smooth sailing. Like we work with crisis clients. We work with eating disorder, mental health, substance use disorder. Things can pop up.
These are high needs clients.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I don't cry that much. And I remember
I like it that much.
that much. I don't. You could ask Amanda. She loves when I cry because I don't. I walked in on a Saturday night from outside and Johnny was like, "Are you crying?" Because he doesn't see it that much. And I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't, and I called Blake, the other co-founder of Next Level, and he was like concerned. He's like, "I've never heard you that way." And I had burnt myself out. I had exhausted all avenues. I had no boundaries because I was, solo. But I'm also someone that is a perfectionist and also thinks that I can do everything on my own, and that's where I have to have the trust and relying on others and knowing what boundaries are appropriate and they're okay, like letting clients know, okay, 9 to 7, you can reach out. If it's after hours, email or whatever the case is, but sometimes it gets tangled for sure, depending on the crisis and the situation at hand. So,
and listen, we just worked on a crisis together, and it was great to know that we were all there. And by the same token, I felt bad because I'm like, I don't want to take over, right, and just do something because this is a team approach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And so there's also that balance where I know this person's trying to rest, or I know this person is asleep. I know I'm up at 5 a.m. I could do something.
Yeah.
But then I don't want to hear later on, "Ooh, you didn't consult with everyone." And I don't like bad blood that way.
Of
right.
Course, yeah.
So it makes it hard.
Yeah. No, it makes it hard. I mean, and that's what it's always like a team thing with us. So which I actually like because it's never just like my thinking, right? Because my thinking most of the time is pretty on point, but how about if in that one moment it's not?
Right.
And so relying on, reaching out to you or the psychiatrist or whatever, just to make sure that I am going in the right direction gives me a little bit, I don't feel as much of a struggle, which then doesn't lead to as quick of a burnout. But yeah, I mean, when in burnout, have you been in burnout before?
I think so. Okay. I think, what burns me out more is it's not necessarily the clients who, yes, but it's at the places that I've worked at, it's the institutional factors that have burned me out.
Yeah.
And as you were saying, the trust among people. So since moving to Florida, I've been burned multiple times by people who I thought I could trust in the industry. And then I have to often remind myself, use your clinical skills. Not everyone is healed. And have a little bit more discernment about who you're going to surround yourself with. That to me has caused the worst burnout. Should I just leave this field? Should I just go back to New York?
Yeah.
Not that it's any better there, but you know what I mean? Yeah. If you have 3 or 4 people where it's what the heck?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that I have, and I know I've helped Amanda with this as well, because like I said, we're two opposite people, is I've really kept my circle small, personally. And then
Mhm.
professionally, I really try to, there's people for sure that I gravitate more to. And I'm like, I like them. I would
Mhm.
hang out with them on a
Mhm.
personal level, but I really try to keep it to a certain degree that, because you can, like when you mix the professionalism with personal, which we see all the time. I
It's
mean,
so
you're
easy,
seeing
right? You're
these people
hanging
all
out
the
with it.
time.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is why I would never be a good business development person, just so
Mhm.
you know, because I'd be like, I don't want to do this.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, it's, it really can mess with you because then you're like, wow, you forget that just because we're in this field and we're helping other people, that we're still not struggling. Like everybody struggles. And I remember the first time I talked about like my struggles and my burnout, I thought in my head, I was like, ooh, if people listen to this, they might not want to work with me because then they'll think like, oh, she's a mess,
Mhm.
but I kind of just let that was one of my thoughts, right? And I was like, well, that's not true. Like I'd rather be honest, and because I see a lot of times that people are struggling and they are not wanting to let people know where they're at.
And then they have
And then things happen,
where we
right?
we hear of the deaths that have happened,
Yeah.
multiple in of people who were colleagues and
Yeah. The
yeah.
treatment center I got sober at,
Mhm.
there were suicides, with the owners there. And,
Mhm.
um, you know,
It's a real thing.
it is 100%. And that's why, so in the end, like, I just tried to tell myself, well, people don't want to work with me. They don't want to work with me, but I feel that I need to be honest, because if there's people that are judging you, that you're saying like, I'm burnt out or I'm depressed, and I don't want to hang out with you anyway,
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think the other thing is like the cutthroat business
Ugh,
aspect
yeah.
of the money part,
Yeah. I don't like that.
right? Where it's like, yes, for all of us, it's a business. We're
Yeah.
not going to lie, it's a business,
Yeah.
right? But you would get so much farther if you collaborated rather than shut down connections. So that I don't understand
I
that.
had, I'll never forget. We had, because I'm new, right? I don't know. You've been around for a while, kind of the behavioral health field. Mine's been like almost 5 years, 6 years. So I don't know these things. I'm very naive to them. And I also work with who I work with, and
Hmm.
I'm open absolutely to working with other people. But I remember I asked, it was a therapist that owned like a DBT company. Like it was a group practice where they
Hmm.
did group sessions. And she told me that uh, she would not collaborate with us, that the client would have to let go of our services to go to her group. And I was like, I never heard that before. Like I was kind of like, am I hearing this right?
Hmm.
Because I feel like it takes a village sometimes, I know if it was just me on my own, like as a coach, I mean, I wouldn't get that far. I think a lot of times it takes what it takes, whether it's dietitian, and, I don't have the skills of say you or the
Hmm.
psychiatrist, the dietitian. I also don't have the degrees of those things. So I rely really on you all, for support and guidance, and vice versa, so like a lot of times people reach out about like some medical questions, or whatever the case is. And I think I just love kind of the collaboration part. So when there's not that, and there feels this kind of like, oh, you're my competition. I don't know. I've never felt that. I feel like everybody has their own special qualities.
Hmm.
If there's a client that's not appropriate for us, I recommend him to a different company that's along the
And
same lines.
right, and that's fine. I mean, I just think it's weird. I give it away for free.
Yeah.
That didn't sound good. But
No,
I mean, but like I will give like services and be, hey, I'll help you out. You
yeah.
need some supervision on this? Fine, call me. I'll spend an hour on the phone with you. Like that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Right? It's about just we're all in this together. And that to me is part of that connection, which I think alleviates the possibility of burnout.
Yeah.
Because it's client care, but it's also the feeling isolated, that you have
Absolutely.
no place to go.
Yeah. No, that's hard.
Mhm.
I I definitely have started to notice that a little bit more with, when I first started, I was doing transport. So I was really just kind of working with, clients directly, and then obviously the owners. But now as like partner, I really kind of have to obviously engage more. And, um, I think that I'm always that Gandhi quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. And I always try to do that. So if I'm transparent about where I'm at, and honest, about something I'm comfortable with or not comfortable with. I feel like it builds relationships for me.
Have you ever had someone say to you, "Oh my God, you're like the nicest person. I had heard you were a blah, blah, blah."
Oh yeah.
Doesn't
Okay,
that
so
surprise you?
I don't get that word. I get that I'm intimidating, which I guess is along the same lines.
I guess, but I don't understand that.
Yeah, like people are scared to ask me questions because they think I'm intimidating, and I'm like, so then I'm like, is it just my like the way I talk? I'm not sure because I really am like the clients. It's funny, clients that don't have connections with anybody, right? Like they feel like they don't have friends. They love me.
Mm-hmm.
Which you would think then like people would feel open if that's the case, if someone who doesn't have anybody that they feel comfortable with and they're coming to me. But I guess I put off some.
I think you're warm and fuzzy.
Oh, I've never gotten that.
I think you're warm and fuzzy.
Thank you.
But I, that's one of the things where I walk around to events and I'm like, I've heard this a lot. So like, what is that? And then I wonder, is that a uniquely female thing? Because I never hear people say that about men.
No.
Like, don't go up to him. He's intimidating.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Or
No.
I've heard he's a B, which you don't really say about men anyway.
No,
but
yeah. You'd say something else.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely probably a female thing. And I did a report recently off topic. It was about, women where we're at now as being like business owners and not kind of the normal back in the day, keeping the household and being a stay-at-home mom and what kind of that brings with it. So this is fairly new compared to men always being the people that are out and making the money and that type of stuff. So I wonder with that, does it then bring like a different competition?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I always try to like study and like read up on stuff that I find is interesting. Because for me, I try to be nice to everybody. I am one of those people though, if I think that someone doesn't like me, I will purposely go and talk to you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's like I don't want someone not to like me or just like, I don't know what that is, but I will go up to someone who I think maybe is giving me the cold shoulder instead of just thinking like, oh, they don't like me. Because
Mm-hmm.
maybe like I have a friend who's in the industry and she gives off that for sure, but she's the nicest person.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, she has significant social
There
anxiety.
you go. Mm-hmm.
But you would think she's the meanest person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I assumed that initially, but I still went up to her because that's the type of person I am.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll tell me, she's like, yeah, I have the worst social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So like going into large group settings, she's going to put on this like face that's like,
Mm-hmm.
and very standoffish, but inside she's like having a panic attack.
Right.
So, I always try to remind myself of that. Like maybe they're just not initially someone that's super warm and, extroverted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm a introverted extrovert.
Yes.
So I keep caution, but then once I'm comfortable with you, I'm, ready to go and chat it out for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you my secret for
Yes.
combating burnout. I haven't
Tell me.
told anybody this before.
Oh.
My secret is Friday afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
when the day is over, I try to end early on Friday afternoons. I take a shower. I go into my pajamas,
Sounds great.
like
already.
4 p.m, and I spend the night in bed.
Oh, that sounds great.
Reading trashy magazines,
I love that.
watching TikTok, and just decompressing from the entire week. Nothing intellectual. Like if somebody texts me, unless it's an emergency, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
I am all about like just being present and letting my body chill.
I like that.
That to me, that's the key to happiness, people. Going to bed at like 4 p.m. on a Friday.
Hey, listen, you sold me. I'm a big napper.
Mhm.
So mine is usually a nap.
Mhm.
Like
A
I'm
nap
a
is
napper.
great too.
It's one of my favorite things to do. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie. And when I take a nap, I'm someone that like feels I always
Rejuvenated?
thank you.
Yeah.
That's one of my words that I get like tongue twisted. Every time, some people feel more tired, not me. My mind's been relaxed and I'm ready to go. So I like the pajamas. I mean,
Mhm.
listen, I'll put
I've
on
done that ages.
No, that's a great idea.
For even in college, I was like the only person who didn't go out on a Friday night.
Oh my gosh,
that was
you're
like
special.
that was. I mean, I've heard that before. That not in a nice way. But that was what I needed to be able to be my best self for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I like that.
Is to just have that one night. God, People Magazine has been like my mainstay for I can't tell you how long.
Do you still buy magazines?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I didn't know
love
there
them.
was people that still buy magazines.
Oh, I love them.
Oh,
Love
that's
them. Us Magazine, People. Someone once said to me a long time ago, they were like, you just like, I don't understand you sometimes. You're so smart. And you go home and you read Glamour Magazine. I can't figure you out.
I feel like that's good because it's like an
Yeah,
off
it's a
switch,
balance.
right? Like
Yeah.
you don't have to have like beyond this like intellectual level. Like you're just reading.
I love pop culture
Oh, me
and
too.
beauty and all
Same.
of that. Like that's part of like what makes us fun.
I know the most random, interesting. Like sometimes people will be like, "Why do you know this?" And I'm like, I get like,
Because you just do.
I find something interesting and I just roll with
Right.
it. Like Amanda Bynes, very obsessed with her and her
Oh, poor
whole
girl.
thing. I know. So I get it
Mhm.
100%. And it's mindless, you
Mhm.
know, like there's not this, you know, a lot of times because I still am in school right now.
Mhm.
And then with the business, it's nice to just not have anything to like think about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do my new goal, which I'm announcing to
Yes.
everybody,
What's next for you?
is well, balance wise, I am going to put my phone on do not disturb,
Mm-hmm.
maybe on like certain times. So that's my goal for today is to figure out times to put my phone on do not
That's a
disturb.
great idea.
That way I can focus on the kids. But my next thing is that I do want to finish so I can get my, be a clinician and work strictly, which I will say, and I'm going to give you are someone that has made me very interested much more than I had before with eating disorder.
Oh, wow.
So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Because that's not something, while I've had like body dysmorphia and, definitely, I think we talked about before, restricted,
Mhm.
at certain points in my life, I've never had,
Mm-hmm.
certain ones, new or old
Mhm.
ones. So when I worked with you, it very much brought me into like, wow, I really am interested in this. So I
Thank you. It's
appreciate that.
fascinating.
It's
like
very
fascinating. There's so many layers. And for someone who has like a nursing background, right? It's like, I mean, the complications, there's medical,
I think that's why I like it.
yeah.
Obviously I love my substance use disorder
Mhm.
clients and all that, but I found with the eating disorder, there's so much, right? Like because you're checking the labs and, obviously working with the dietitian on what's appropriate for
Mhm.
certain things, depending on what obviously their
Mhm.
diagnosis is. And it's just the idea of you have to eat. I
Mhm.
think that's like the thing that like gets me because I just stopped taking drugs. I got locked in a program and they took the drugs away from me. And then I worked on my core issues and moved forward, and found out who I am. But with that, you have to eat.
And you're so afraid of it.
And you're so afraid of it, and that's like your drug.
Or your body gets trained not to tolerate food. And so even if you aren't actively purging, as soon as food gets in your system, your body just rejects it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I found, because I've been doing a lot of research, a lot of my papers have been on, different types of eating disorders and especially like orthorexia, because that's the
Mhm.
newest trend, is that the idea of not being judgmental to individuals that have eating disorders. And I think that's, I've said over like being non-judgmental and compassionate to everybody. And I like the people that are kind of like the black sheep or
Mhm.
feel awkward.
Yeah.
I like those people. So with eating disorder, I feel like it's like, oh yeah, I did drugs. But then they're like, oh, you have like, you're anorexic or you like binge and purge, so crazy that it's two totally different, but it's like bad, so I really, and I think that's why, even though I haven't had the eating disorder per se, I think that's why a lot of times I like it because I want people to feel that they're not alone.
But if you've had any other addiction, you can understand the
100%.
mindset of it. Like we've seen
It's
it in
addiction.
the cases that we have shared together.
Yeah.
Is the thinking is so much like
Get high from
Yep.
skimping,
Mhm.
what you're supposed to eat,
Mhm.
you get energy from, binging and purging. I mean, it's for sure.
Mhm.
The thought process of it is obsessive.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
It's very much relatable.
Absolutely.
So I really want to move towards that direction. But yeah, it was definitely from you because you're so good with it. I was
Aw.
talking with someone the other day. I can't remember who it was, but I was talking about you. And we were saying like how you're just so like things happen, right? People yell at you or whatever the case is, and you're just like, okay. And I just like love that about you because you're just like, whoop, that was expected, like, and I just think that's such a good way to be. And it must be the pajamas at 4 p.m.
It's
on Friday.
gotta
It
be.
has to be
It's
the
gotta
pajamas.
be. It's gotta be.
So I'm going to work on that because a lot of times, I mean, I'm for sure someone that like brushes things off because I don't take them personally because I know what it is, but I just love your demeanor about things. It's very much like refreshing, because you're just like, okay, let's move forward.
Move forward.
What's the solution? Like, what are we going to do instead of kind of just like where I've seen before is like.
Well, thank you. I've loved working with you. So when are we going to have a full-fledged clinician? When are you going to be finished?
God, I don't know. I'd say like 2 years.
2 years. Yeah. All right. So we're going to have you back in 2 years.
Okay.
2 years when you are completely finished.
And I'll let you know if I'm still continuing on this path or.
There you go.
We don't know what's going to happen in 2 years.
We don't know what's going to happen in 2 years.
There could be so much. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot in 2 years, but you're going to grow.
Yeah.
You're going to grow in so many different ways. The business is going to grow. Like everything that you're involved in is going to be growing. I'm really excited because this is a great journey for you. It really is.
Now, how did you decide? I know this is obviously your podcast, but I always ask questions. How did you decide that you wanted to be in this field?
So I knew I wanted to be in this field before I knew what this field was called.
Okay.
So originally I wanted to be a teacher.
I can picture that.
I was obsessed with the Bionic Woman, and she was a teacher.
Yeah.
And so I used to my mother used to have this hairnet that I would put on my head to give me the long hair, and I'd pretend to be teaching, and then I'd run around and be bionic
amazing.
With the hairnet because I
picture
always
that.
wanted long hair. And then teaching kind of turned into, I started watching on TV, those like movies of the week where there was a kid who was being abused or a kid who had an alcoholic parent.
Yeah.
And I was a voracious reader, and those were the books that I would always take out of the library of like kids who needed help.
Yeah.
I was so attracted to that. So I thought I was going to actually be a child social worker.
I can picture that, yeah.
And so when I went to college, I decided whatever I study that doesn't feel like work was going to be what my career was. And so I was reading in my psychology book, I loved it. And on my freshman hall, 6 out of 18 girls had eating disorders.
Wow.
Which was a significant number.
I mean, especially when was this?
This was in 1989.
Wow.
1989.
Yeah.
So, and then I had an eating disorder in college. I developed one in college. And so I went through my own entire process, which looks very different from how the field looks
I'm sure.
right now.
Yeah.
And so that was it for me.
Yeah.
And that's been never looked back.
Yeah, that's interesting. See,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Also, I mean, college is definitely a big trigger for people to develop eating disorders.
Absolutely. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of, I went to a very competitive school, who's smarter, all kinds of things. And my mindset was not great.
Yeah.
It wasn't. So I fell into it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny now? Because you look back and there's like, you are who you are. Like, you probably talked to some of the people maybe from the college, but like, we're so reliant on worrying about what other people think of us and wanting to be a part of in, school years, right? And then you get out and you don't even hang out with any of those people anymore.
That's what I tell my daughter all the time. I said,
wish I knew
stop
that.
stressing because in 5 years you won't even know these people.
I know. I wish I knew that. I feel like, everything happens for a reason for sure. I just wonder if I had like Sarah came over and was like, don't worry about this because you won't talk to any of these people ever again.
But I don't know I don't know if someone had told me that, if I would even believe it. Because I think sometimes my daughter believes it, but in the moment, their prefrontal cortex is not developed yet either. So, they can't see it.
That's
until
why I
they're 25.
love kids because kids just do whatever they want to do. They don't care what anybody else says. I mean, my kid's running around saying like potty words all the time, and it's funny.
I would love to run around and say potty words all the time.
Doesn't care.
Wouldn't it be refreshing?
Or like shakes his butt.
Yeah.
You're like, no one, no
Love
regard for anybody else. You
Love
know?
it.
And then you get to this age where you're like, oh, I have to be this way.
Mhm.
And, So I like
Keep
this.
a part of that.
Yeah.
Keep a part of that.
So I try to be like that to a certain degree because we always strive as, this is something I've talked about before. We always strive as parents to find happiness for our kids, what happiness is going to look like for them, but they're already happy. It's our ideas and our beliefs that
project
onto them of what you should be a nurse or you should be married at this age and have kids, but they're already happy. Like if you look at anybody, they can go from sad to happy in 2 seconds.
All they need is love.
That's it.
That's all they need is love and acceptance. Sarah, it has been amazing having you on here. You are welcome on here anytime. Whatever you want to come. And you're going to come to Popalooza too.
Oh, yes. When is that?
Oh, shoot.
I already know. January 13th.
January 13th. In Boca. 5 to 8?
Yeah.
In, how do we pronounce it again? Meisner
Park.
Meisner, yes. Meisner Park.
You're live.
I'm going to be live.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I'd be nervous. I'd be sweating.
Oh my God, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And don't forget to check out the next episode of From Mayhem to Mindset with Dr. Laura. Peace out. Thanks for joining us on From Mayhem to Mindset. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave a 5-star review. It really helps spread the message. Want to dive deeper? Check out my book, Wisdom from the Universe, available now on Amazon. And if you're looking for a speaker to inspire and transform, I'd love to connect. Visit www.lauraellick.com to learn more. Remember, you don't have to just survive, you can thrive. See you next time.